You're listening to 99.1 WQRT-LP, and welcome to Radio Free Book Club for November 2025. I'm Ken Honeywell. I'm a writer and reader from Indianapolis, and this month we're talking about the latest novel from one of Britain's most acclaimed and popular writers, that is Ian McEwan. McEwan's novel Amsterdam won the Booker Prize in 1998. His next novel is perhaps his best known, 2001's Atonement, which was adapted for an Oscar-winning film starring Keira Knightley and James McAvoy. Was also shortlisted for the Booker Prize. His next work, 2005's Saturday, won the James Tate Black Memorial Prize. This was followed by On Chesil Beach, another Booker Prize shortlister. In fact, he's been nominated 6 times for the Booker Prize and twice for the International Booker Prize. He's written historical fiction, gothic fiction, speculative fiction, plays, screenplays, children's fiction, and more. He was named among the Times of London's 50 greatest writers since 1945. He's walked away with too many honors to list here. What we can know is McEwan's 18th novel. It's set, initially anyway, in a dystopian future about 100 years from now, in which a university professor, Tom Metcalf, searches for a lost poem called A Corona for Vivian, written by the famous poet Francis Blundy, dedicated to his wife and performed only once for a small gathering of friends at her birthday party, and as far as history knows, was never seen or heard again. It is an intriguing premise, and we have a great group of Radio Free Book Club members to investigate it with us, so let's meet them. Hello, Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig Von Deylen. I'm a father, husband, architect, aesthete, curmudgeon.
All
things.
Those, yeah.
Sure.
All those, yeah. What's up in your life?
Just trying to get through winter,
Yeah.
getting ready. It's going to get cold.
Yeah, it is. Already getting a little chilly here in Indianapolis. Hey, Christine.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm Christine Hudson, a writer and reader from Indianapolis as well. My daytime, sort of 9-to-5 job is in marketing, and then beyond that, I spend a lot of my time, especially this year, writing. So,
Yeah,
very
that's
exciting.
awesome. What you working on?
I wrote the first draft of a novel this year called Springtide.
Yeah.
And I'm working on draft number 2 right now.
That is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
good.
glad to hear that.
It's cut into my reading time a lot, but that is okay.
Yeah, that's more than okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve Woods.
Ken.
How are you?
I'm good. Steve Woods. Also a father, husband. I'm a financial advisor, and side gig, I officiate football on the weekends. A frustrated writer with curmudgeon tendencies.
Yeah, but think about all the good material you'll have sometime for that, you know.
From being a father, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Steve. And now, just before we get going, please know that there is a lot to spoil in what we can know. And if you don't want to know it in advance of reading the book, we urge you to put this program away and come back later, because we are definitely going to spoil it. Fortunately, coming back is easy because you can find this and all the episodes of Radio Free Book Club on Spotify, just about anywhere you stream podcasts. But why not go to WQRT.org and see all the great programming we do there? We also hope you'll subscribe to our free Radio Free Book Club Substack for non-spoiler notes about the book, including whether or not we would recommend it. So first of all, what do we know about Ian McEwan? Have we read Ian McEwan before? Anybody? Steve?
This was my very first,
Okay.
and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Christine?
Yeah, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, now that you just read his whole litany of successes, I'm embarrassed to say I have not read any of his work, nor did I see Atonement, which is shocking.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you are a total
Coming in green.
McEwan
Yeah.
rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Craig?
I've not read his books before or anything by him at all, but then again, when I read, I move my lips, so it takes me a long time to get through books.
Yeah. Well, we like to have a perspective from someone like you,
I think
Craig.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah. I have not read any. Well, actually, I kind of reread Chesil Beach maybe a year or two ago. It's a real short book. I did read Atonement. I did read Saturday. I remember liking all those books. I'm not sure Chesil Beach had the same impact on me it did the second time around. I kind of, and maybe it's those three books that have given me this idea, because I know this is not always what McEwan does, but it seems to me that kind of an emotionally, like a high impact emotional ending that might be surprising is something that is pretty familiar to Ian McEwan readers, I would say. So I think I maybe had a little bit of that in mind going into this book, but as I said, I haven't read any McEwan in quite some time. So I had some expectations going in, but it sounds like none of you all had those kinds of expectations. Or did you know him by reputation at all?
Familiar with his name, but no, not too much knowledge outside of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. I knew he, excuse me, was prolific, but I didn't know that he'd written as many as you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the book in general. What'd you think? What'd you think overall, Craig?
I absolutely, totally hated it for the first half of the book. It was plotting, and it jumped around a lot, and I couldn't figure out where it was going. And then they found the clue to try and find the time capsule, and it started getting interesting. And by the time I was done with this book, I had to read it again. It was one of those things that snuck up on you like a bad dream. But, man, it was really good when I got done. So
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Yeah. Interesting. Christine, how about you?
Similar reading experience. I don't know if it's just because I was anxious to read the other book that I was reading at the same time, or if I was anxious to work on writing. I was about to lose patience on this book so many times, especially during Thomas's narrative in the first half. I was like, if he doesn't get to the point, like, I'm putting this down. Like, I probably would have put it down if not for this discussion. But similar to what Craig said, in the second half of the book, like right at the end of part one of Thomas's narrative, it did start to pick up, and I was like, okay, there is hope here. And then I found part two with Vivian's point of view to be infuriating but engaging and a lot more compelling than part one.
Yeah. Infuriating how?
I don't know. I didn't really like, and this isn't a bad thing, but I didn't really like a lot of the characters in this book, which is a way to keep you reading. Like, I don't have to like the characters to want to continue reading. But I didn't like Vivian that much. I really, really didn't care for Francis, especially by the end of the book, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And then a lot of the minor characters, I was really curious and hoping to see if they would become more important. But I think besides Rachel, there wasn't like, the minor characters never became as important as I was hoping that they would sort of level up to. But overall, yeah, I mean, once some of the pieces started to fall into place, it was a little bit easier for me. But I almost lost patience with it there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Woods, what do you think?
I feel the same. The first part was a bit of a slog. I kept wanting it to get to something. But kind of the promise, as in your right hand, you've got all these pages and you're hopeful. I was confused when we made that switch. I didn't know who was talking. And, but I did kind of get that momentum and got more and more engaged, and kind of one of the things that I think about when I look at books is, am I thinking about this when I'm not reading it? And that's always a good indication of how engaged I am in it. And I did find myself eager to get back to it, and curious as about, what was going to happen. So I really enjoyed it, and would consider giving it another read just now that I have that context. You can go back kind of like you do with movies, and you connect certain dots that you didn't know to connect initially.
That's an interesting comment, Steve, because I enjoyed it more the second time through than I did the first time through. And I did, but to your point also, I did find myself thinking about the first part of the book, this idea of what we can know, and what we don't know. How many things in our lives, I mean, this is a stupid thing maybe, but like I had a job once where I found out, a decade later that so-and-so and so-and-so had been having an affair the whole time I had the job. Now, that affair had always happened, but what did I know?
What do you know?
Right.
And what do you want to know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That didn't happen in my life. But once I found out, it had always happened. So I just think I think that is an intriguing idea. I also found myself, and I would love to talk about this at some point also, I also found that I knew what was going to happen in the second half of the book.
Okay.
Like I could foresee the two major events of A, what happened to Percy, and B, what happened to the poem. I saw both of those from about a mile away.
Wow.
And so that was a disappointment to me. But I think it was, as I said, the second time through, I could see the setup was more interesting the second time through. Craig, did you think so?
I totally agree. I mean, the book is essentially about like the misinterpretation of history based upon limited resources, and then also the aggrandizing of what happened in the past based upon one source. And that all started with Harriet Gage's story, because prior to that story, really nothing was being made of this whole thing. And she wrote the story, and she wrote the story to serve herself because she was trying to advance the climate change concerns and worries about that. And that's what spun it into something that it never really was. Because the poem was never really about that. The poem was about Francis trying to get back. The main character, the poet.
Yeah,
Francis.
Trying to get back into a relationship with his wife that had waned by trying to become more like Percy and then admitting what happened. I mean, that was what the poem was about. But she turned it into something entirely different, and that blew the whole story up and then created this whole false narrative about what he was about, and then that created all the interest in what was going on.
Yeah, some of those things were really interesting. I mean, how this guy who clearly was a climate change denier,
yeah, he didn't care,
had become the hero. This poem was, some kind of, climate change testament, and also that, people were like calling themselves, "Oh, we're a Blundy couple."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they had stayed together for so long and they loved each other for
Which
so
was
much
also
for so long.
Crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Once we learned the background and the inner workings of that relationship, do you want to be a Blundy couple?
Yeah.
No.
I don't
They're
think so.
deplorable humans.
Yeah. No, they're not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk just a little bit. I mean, we've mentioned that the book has these two different sections. Why did you guys, I mean, it sounds like all of you found the second section more compelling than the first. How come you did?
I think in the first half of the book, I had a lot of expectations. To me, if anything about like a dystopian post-apocalyptic world is mentioned, then I want world building immediately.
There's not a lot of world building.
And that's where I got disappointed. And maybe it's just the sci-fi lover in me, but I think we got maybe like 5 pages of exposition about the state of the world, and it came at like the 150 page mark.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
was dying to know, like, what is the world like that Thomas is like? He's so focused on finding this poem, and I'm like, that's great that you want to find this corona for Vivian. Tell me about what your world is like. Like, it's taught, like, in the beginning they're going up this mountain, and I'm like, is everyone living on mountains because the ocean has risen too much? Like, what is happening? So I think part of my frustration with the first half of the book is like, I'm told that this is in 2119 and sort of a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear war, climate change ravished, like not America, sorry, but the UK. And then we don't hear anything about it.
Well, America is like this horror show,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Which
With
is
roving
true.
gangs that are coalescing into armies.
Yeah, yeah.
And, the seat of power in the Western world is Nigeria.
It's Nigeria, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that's what the British think America is like now. So I'm not sure.
It might be what America's like now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't mind that as much, only because that is what is normal for Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And
True, yeah.
I had read something about this is a science fiction book without the science. And they don't tell us about any of the, how technology has changed things. And in fact, it almost felt like we devolved a little bit.
Yeah, they were like harvesting old machines and stuff for
Yeah.
the scrap metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it is just normal for them. And I think had he tried to delve too much into that, it would have taken his eye off the ball even more in that first part that we all agree was kind of struggling to push forward. It was kind of like a whodunit, thriller, right? We're trying to find this poem and maybe exposition on what the world was like could have been even more distracting.
Yeah.
I think the first part was stronger when we were living in Tom's past than it was when we were living in Tom's present. Like it got like his story seemed less interesting to me than the story he was trying to uncover. So I think maybe, so to me, it kind of slowed down after we got, there's a kind of a start of a chapter where you get like the Cliff Notes version of everything they know. And it's like at that point, now we're just kind of talking about his life and what's going on at school and going to the library. And that was all a little less interesting to me, I thought.
Well, there was a sort of a turning point when he and his wife taught the course, and then the students rebelled against
Right.
them.
Yeah.
That led also to this recapitulation of what was going on in the world there and also in the past.
Yeah.
That I think kind of triggered that.
Yeah. Christine, this is just another one of those books that will never appear in the science fiction stacks.
No, I was thinking about that on the way here. I was thinking like, is Ken gonna say that this is science fiction?
Well, it is, right? This is a science fiction. This is a classic. It's 100 years in the future.
Yeah.
What are you going to call
Yeah.
it?
I think it's more of like a literary sort of speculative fiction. But
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
call it speculative fiction.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
But yeah, no, it's not going to appear. I wouldn't sort this if I were the sort of librarian archivist. I probably wouldn't sort it under science fiction per
Yeah,
se. But
which
it's
is-
not science fiction, I guess.
Right. Like so many modern novels, I just look down the list and go, there's a science fiction novel.
Sci-fi.
Oh, there's
Sci-fi.
time travel there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the cut is whether it has a flying car or a wooden bicycle.
Okay.
Wooden bicycle? Not
There were a lot
Right.
of electric bikes, a lot of e-bikes mentioned.
yeah, but they're wooden. They're made of wood.
Thomas's storyline, yeah.
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 Oh, that's kind of cool. I thought that was kind of a cool
That is
touch.
pretty cool.
That's what they had.
Yeah. Craig, did you like any of the characters in this book?
Percy.
Percy,
The
right.
rest of them, a lot of them, like after reading the second part written by Vivian, I thought she was a deplorable human being.
Yeah,
she was
wasn't
given
she?
charge over two helpless human beings, and both of them died. One of them kind of at her hand. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
The
was
other one through
complicit.
neglect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, do you mean Percy or Peter? Didn't you say you liked
Percy.
Peter?
Percy, no,
Okay,
Percy the
okay,
violin
okay.
guy.
Got
He
it,
seemed
got it,
like a
got it.
great guy. Unfortunately, he lost his faculties quite early, but yeah, he seemed
Yeah.
like he was a good person.
I feel like we didn't know. I didn't like Vivian either. But maybe just because we got to know her way too much. Between her journals in the first half of the book and Thomas's part, and then her first person point of view, she did just kind of keep getting worse.
Yeah,
She just kind of kept getting worse.
she was like calculating. I
Yeah.
mean, she went after the poet based upon trying to make Harry Kitchener jealous.
Yeah.
And
Right.
she did it in a methodical way that was almost like amazing. Like, wow,
Yeah.
she's a bad person.
And then had the guts to be friends with Jane Kitchener, right? Harry's
Yeah.
wife.
That's who she spent the rest of her life with
Yeah,
after
they
Francis
were like
died.
besties. For a minute, I thought they were in a relationship. Were they?
No, I don't
No.
think so.
Okay. But for a second there, she was like, yeah, we walk 15 miles a day together. We do everything together. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
She never told her that she killed Percy. Did she tell her that she had an affair with Percy or with Harry or
With
no?
Harry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
She did.
found
Oh, that's
out.
right. She
Yeah,
did
she
make that
did.
clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jane knew that.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't think Jane knew about murdering Percy.
I don't think, yeah.
No, she did not. She mentioned that she did not mention that to anybody.
Yeah.
Because,
Which,
Would've
yeah, why
been-
would you?
yeah, I believe the statute of limitations is unlimited on homicide.
Yeah.
I did love the revenge on Harry
That was
that
funny.
they got,
Yeah.
which was replacing all of his papers in his archive with blank paper.
Yeah, and just
Oh,
junk.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did go back. He never, the main Thomas never went back and tried to find his. He talked about Harry's like going and trying to find it, but it was 600 miles away. He
Right.
couldn't
There were
get there.
pirates.
Yeah, thank God he didn't. Had he gone back, had he gone back and found that, he probably would have realized, hey, there's something up here. This
Right.
is really weird.
Right.
So,
Steve, I also had a little trouble with who we were listening to in the second half of the book. I mean, it became became clear within 3 pages that this was not Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I do think the voices were like didn't see any change in the style in the voice between the first half of the book and the second half of the book, and that bothered me a little bit. I don't know if you had noticed anything like that at all.
It didn't occur to me, and maybe I was reading too fast. But just the kind of sleight of hand with the different narrator, it threw me. But I didn't find it distracting either.
Yeah. I didn't find it distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was notable.
I had a question, if I could, just about Vivian, because we all feel that she was not a great person. Is the final act of her laying all of this out in this kind of contrition, does that restore the value, or does it forgive what she had done to try to set that record straight? Because I was kind of torn between that, kind of a deathbed confession and wanting to lay down what happened. Did you have any sympathy?
Craig is shaking
it's
his
totally
head.
self-serving. Even confession in Christianity is self-serving. I mean, it's to make you feel better.
Yeah.
So it was something she did to make herself feel better. And, maybe somebody finds it someday, but I'm going to write this down and tell the truth about what really happened. No, it's almost everything she did was almost completely self-serving.
I mean,
So-
so I think the one sort of big thing that I kept coming back to with Vivian, and the reason I maybe feel some compassion for her, watching your spouse die of Alzheimer's is miserable. Which I haven't done that, but I have a grandfather with Alzheimer's.
My dad just passed away
it's
a week ago, and it is
horrible.
miserable. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I would rather just lose a family member to cancer than have to watch them slowly lose themselves to dementia.
Yeah.
And Vivian was his primary caretaker. She mentioned at one point that he got his sleep schedule mixed up to where he was going to bed at 7 and waking up for his walk at 3. And she eventually, it got to the point where the police were bringing him back, or whoever was bringing him back. So it got to the point where she just wasn't sleeping. So I had some compassion for Vivian, because watching I don't know what I would do. I think everyone would have, as the kids say, a crash out moment. And I think Vivian's crash out was the affairs. And, after her, and it's not to say that we don't know what her life was like sort of before this. Maybe she had affairs.
Well,
She was sleeping with Harry before.
yeah,
He was
before
diagnosed.
Percy got.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's true. But yeah, I still feel some compassion for Vivian. I really do. I think that she had a rough go, and that's not to excuse anything that she did. and I think her behavior, as you say, Craig, was like not diabolical is a strong word, but very methodical.
Complicit.
Yeah.
You know, the baby passing away. Like when I read that, I'm like,
with
ooh,
Diana. Yeah.
man,
Early,
come on. You know, she
Mhm.
was in her 20s when that happened. She was not a teenager. It just.
But
like,
20s, I mean, she was in like the party age of her 20s, which I would I would round that down to a teenager. I think
Maybe,
when you're
but,
21 and 22,
there was
you're a teenager.
evidently a lot of ecstasy involved. Regardless,
Yeah.
she was just not a person that I would trust.
Yeah.
Well, she actually repeatedly showed very good reasons not to trust her throughout her entire life.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I still felt some compassion for her with Diana's death as well. I don't know. I don't think she ever got to fully grieve. Like, they tried to bury the stuffed animal and she wasn't even able to do that. So I don't know that she ever got grief I don't know that she ever got to grieve or got a full sense of closure from that. And that's a trauma. Again, I think in your early 20s, you're basically still a teenager. So that essentially happened to her in a very like fundamental stage of her development, which could probably really shape how you move into your 30s, 40s, and 50s. She was 54, right? When a lot of the...
That seems right.
I think,
About
I
right
think
for the
she was
birthday.
54.
That
Yeah,
was for the
her
dinner.
birthday. Yeah, her birthday dinner. Yeah.
So to add to maybe what Craig was saying, if Percy was her do-over opportunity,
yeah.
right, to care for another living being,
Yeah.
she totally screwed that one up too, because she's going off on all these trysts,
I mean,
and
she's first of all, she's sleeping with Harry before he even gets sick. While he's sick, she breaks up with Harry and then concocts this concept or this way of getting with his best friend to get some kind of like retribution against or revenge against him.
Yeah.
It's diabolical. I mean, to the point of even picking the right place to sit.
Yeah.
For the performance,
reading,
so that the guy would, it's like, man, she's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, her only excuse is she was written by a man, which might
Yeah.
be an excuse.
Which maybe that's why I have some compassion for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve? Any characters that you actually liked in this book? Did you like Tom?
I did. I kind of, as frustrating as it was, I did enjoy him kind of getting closer to that. That one librarian that bugged the hell out of him, that Drummond,
Right.
Donald,
had
daughter good
the
at maths.
clue the whole time, and he's
Yeah.
ignoring him. It was like, of course, this is it. But the interesting thing about his area of interest, this corona that nobody can find, is it reminded me there's a book called Fermat's Enigma, which was basically the Pythagorean theorem doesn't work if you do it cubed, right? But mathematicians would spend sometimes their entire life, and it's a snipe hunt, and he was doing this exact thing, and it became so consuming that he couldn't think about anything else. He was in love with Vivian, who was 100 years old, that was forming a wedge between his relationship with his wife.
Yeah.
So that kind of obsession I found very interesting. I did like Percy. That story arc was sad, but he and it was Paul, right? The nephew?
Peter.
Peter, thank you. I mean, those two were the very best of characters with respect to having qualities that we would respect, I think.
Does this whole idea of, Tom was in love with Vivian. Tom was in love with his idea of Vivian and who he thought she was through her journals and the journals of others and certain emails and those kinds of things. Does that sort of idea affect the way you think about people in history? Have you ever idolized someone and then found out they weren't that good of a person, or?
Absolutely, it does.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it was interesting because he was so idolizing her that he was fabricating concepts of like what kind of potatoes she'd made for the dinner.
Well,
The
yeah,
fact
that to me was one of the funniest things was she didn't even cook dinner.
No,
She didn't cook.
she had
She had a caterer.
Right.
And he was like, she made quail.
She really liked to cook a nice meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she
Braised
did.
in red wine.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Vivian's account is like, I had to tip the caterer extra.
Yeah, that part was crazy. Like,
Yeah, I was
man,
like,
they
I
missed
actually
the mark.
I thought that I misread. I actually turned back to the beginning because I
That's
was
what
like,
I-
wait,
yeah, I
was
had to
like,
do the
there was
same
no
thing. I'm
caterer.
like,
she
that-
cooked. She
yeah.
went to the store. She got the groceries. She cleared that branch out of the road, and then she cooked dinner.
Yeah, and Mary Sheldrake broke
Yeah,
the
and
in
broke
the
that
yeah,
bowl,
but
yeah.
it wasn't. It was one of the caterer's helpers
Right,
that actually
yeah.
broke the bowl. It's like there was a lot of crazy stuff that when you went back and
Right.
went, man, that is how off the mark they were
Right.
because they had so much information. That's the other thing that kept reinforcing. They had everything that
Yep.
anybody in the story had ever written down, typed, or taken a photograph of
Yeah.
because of the electronic
Yeah,
information
the
from the
mountain
internet.
of
Mountains of
information available in the digital age. It's
And
shocking.
Still missed it
Still missed it,
entirely.
yeah.
Like that's basically this is a tale. Everybody should read this to realize that sometimes history is probably a little off.
History's, yeah. Like, what do we know? That's the name of the book. But yeah.
Yeah.
What do we really know?
Yeah,
What can
what
we
do we
actually
really
know?
know?
Yeah. But I had a similar thought when I was reading this. So Francis Blendy is fictional, but he was compared to T.S. Eliot. And I have a cat named after T.S. Eliot.
All right.
And I had this thought, and I was like, I actually don't know if T.S. Eliot was a terrible person. So by the end of this book, I was like, what if T.S. Eliot is Francis Blendy? Because I
Yeah.
hate Francis. So I'm like, what have I done? I named my cat after this poet.
You might want to look into him a little
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, I know I know it's not great, but like, yeah, is he as bad as Francis? I don't know.
I'm not sure he murdered anyone.
I don't want to
but-
know, maybe, because I can't rename my cat now. So he's Elliot forever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How about this future? Did it seem credible, Steve? Is that a place you would care to spend any time? And did you think it seemed? I mean, and by the way, I kind of am with you on this. I mean, the little bit of world building didn't bother me. It seemed pretty okay to me.
I always think that I would be among the first to die in situations like this because I have no real skills. I can't hunt. I can't build anything.
Oh man, you can call holding.
Well,
You can call a personal foul.
that's not going to help. But no, I wouldn't want to live in that world. But I think it's also a testament to these people. Just you got to figure it out and you got to make do. But I would not idealize that at all. It's not something that I would wish for sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Christine?
I don't think I'd want to live in the future, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
and
I think we've had this discussion before.
Yeah.
You would not want to live in the future.
I wouldn't want to live in the past or future. Like, this is it. I wouldn't time travel. If someone said you could time travel to any time, I would actually just say no. Like, I'll stay right. Maybe go back to, like, the 90s. That was a good time. But, like, beyond that, no. And I really, I felt really aligned with the students who just straight up walked out of that lecture.
Yeah.
And were like, we don't care. Like, this is the world that we're living in. This is the world that not them, I guess, but this is the world that was left to us. And we don't really need to know about whatever nostalgia and hopes and like whatever the world was like in 2014 or whatever period they were studying. I think his period was like 2000 to like
It was like 1990 to 2023.
2030. Or,
2030,
yeah.
2030,
90 to 30.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like
40 years.
I understood the students' frustration. And what was the guy that spoke up? Noah or Kevin?
Kevin Howard.
Two first
Kevin
names.
Howard.
Kevin Howard.
Kevin Howard, yeah,
Yeah.
the two first names. So like, I totally get their frustration with not caring about history, because what good is it doing them now in this like really messed up world that they're having to live in? And they have these, professors who are like all nostalgic about a time that is completely gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Craig, what good is history?
Well, it's probably wrong.
What do we know? What can we know?
I'm going to fall in love with Vivian again. I would agree with Christine on the question itself of like, I like living in the present, but I just, please, 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 someone write a non-post-apocalyptic sci-fi book. Like things hopefully don't go as badly as they went in this novel. Like, is there a possibility that in 100 years things are actually really pretty peachy? And
No.
I don't
think so.
See that, but but here's the thing: as long as we all feel that way, it may not be that way. There is a concept of like actually, if we change our mindset, we can bring about a better future than what we expect. So I just feel like maybe it would be it's time for somebody to write a book that's 100 years in the future where things actually didn't go so horribly wrong. Right now they're not going great, but they could turn around, and we could manifest a concept of having a better future than what we actually seem to be expecting based upon current popular literature.
The only one, and this isn't one of those, but the only one of those that I can sort of think of is Kim Stanley Robinson's The Ministry for the Future, which is, have you read that, Christine?
You recommended it to me, Ken, and it's been on my list for like 5 years.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
so sorry.
It is not really hey, it's 2080 or 2180 and everything's fine. It's more like, if we did all of these things, perhaps we could get to a place where we could moderate climate change, and this is what it would actually take to do that. So it's a very, it's sort of hopeful in that way. I mean, bad things happen. In fact, a real bad thing happens at the start of the book. But it sort of galvanizes the world to actually try to do something.
Well, humans have this great capacity for persevering past catastrophe. Yeah. And in fact, it actually moves our society forward much faster when we have these things happen. And it just, maybe there has to be a catastrophe, but it would be nice to read a book that is set as science fiction that's 100 or 200 or 3 or maybe 1,000 years in the future where things aren't terrible.
Yeah. So. I know another book. Another, like, one of my favorite novels ever is John Crowley's Engine Summer.
I was thinking about that too.
Oh, Christine.
Yeah,
I would live in Engine Summer world.
I know you would. And you'd have, which chord? There's like the different chords.
Yeah, it might be, I would be Whisper Chord, maybe. Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I couldn't be Whisper Chord.
No, you recommended that to me. I think you actually gifted that book to me.
I think I did.
Yeah. And
because it's a good cat book too, right?
It is the world. If a cat could write what the world is like,
right,
that's what they would write.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good book. I got the sense that book could have been set in the future or very far in the past. It was like one of those, like, so far in the future it could be the past type things. Yeah.
I agree. So, kind of on that note, Tom and Rose have this ongoing deal about whether historians should be trying to fill in those gaps to make history interesting enough for us to want to have anything to do with these characters. Rose says, no, you can't write anything that we don't know. You can't make that stuff up. You don't know that she had quail and fondant potatoes. You have no idea what she did. Any thought about that? Is it okay? Is it okay to make stuff up? Is it okay to make up what Hannibal said crossing the Alps?
I think it's okay to do that and call it historical fiction. I think that's what historical fiction is. I don't think it's okay to do that and put it in a history book, which, I think that's what their debate was centered around. But historical fiction has its time and place. I think historical fiction can even be, like, helpful, but the fiction modifier has to be there. In my opinion, at least.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I think we've seen that you can't trust even the history that we've read. Vivian totally rewrote what happened, and that would be the kind of touchstone for what was going on, because hers was the one that lived, and there's that quote about the victors will write the history books. My wife texted me something today, apropos of nothing, but it was a Harry Truman quote that said, "The only thing new in the world is the history you don't know." And I thought it was apropos for this, but
Interesting.
we don't even know the history that happened, because it's all, you look at the dinner party, there were completely different versions of the very same event. It just shows that none of us are reliable narrators in any sort of event. So who ultimately gets to decide that? I think it's just whoever point is kind of at the top of the list.
So, do we assume that Vivian is a reliable narrator, even though we know she has lied just continually in the past, even including to her own journals? Because, as you might recall, she told her journals that she was making all these trips to London to visit Peter, and she was going to visit Harry. But she actually wrote in her journals, and so that's what Tom thought. She had made all these trips to London to visit. This was after Percy's death, while Francis was in New York, and she had made all these trips to London. But she lied even to her journals. Is she? Do we trust her at all?
Probably not, but I'd be more likely to trust her confession over her journals, because she was using her journals to cover her tracks. So it's more likely that that's more accurate information.
I sort of assumed that she knew her journals would one day be read. That's just the vibe that I got. I can't point to anything specifically. But
They kept mentioning Pepys in his diaries. And so maybe there was an assumption because she was famous that they were going to read her journals.
Right, and it tied to this famous poet. Yeah, I don't trust her. I don't trust Vivian, unfortunately, with anything.
No one should.
No, I don't trust Vivian.
Certainly not your spouse.
No, if you're Vivian's next spouse, watch out.
Yeah,
So,
no kidding.
I thought another interesting thing was that pretty much everyone was bored by the poem when Francis was reading.
Yeah. Well, they were
so
also drunk.
funny.
That was the other thing that came out.
Yeah, they
Right.
had like 18 gin and tonics apiece,
Right.
and then 5 or 6 bottles of wine.
Yeah. So allegedly it was a great poem, but
There were only 3 people there that would have known whether it was a great poem. That would
probably
be Harry.
Yeah.
right.
Francis himself. It was probably a good poem because Francis wrote it, and he was a noted
Francis
poet.
was allegedly a great poet. He was
Yeah.
second only to Seamus Heaney. So
Yeah, but he and also then Vivian. The rest of them, like there was the Sheldrakes. They
Mary
were kind of
Sheldrake. She was a novelist.
She was a
Yeah.
novelist and
Yeah.
not supposedly a very good one.
She was forgotten by time.
Yeah, Harriet and her husband. She was a freelance writer and started this whole ball rolling. And then the other 2 guys, one was a vet, and then they didn't really say what his husband was.
Yeah, I forget what he did.
Yeah,
But
don't know.
so many of them didn't know, and the reality is it was Harriet's husband that said started clapping or when it was over, and he definitely didn't know. I mean,
He just woke up and started clapping.
yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah. So like we don't even know if it was that great. Its greatness was mainly because of the article Harriet wrote that said it was.
Yeah, he
And-
taught Francis a good grammar lesson, though. That was
That was
really
good.
funny.
Yeah.
That was really good and was kind of nice to hear.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought that part was funny as well. Like, actually laughed out loud at that part.
Yeah,
And I liked it because I didn't like Francis, so I liked that someone stood up to him.
Harry had a vested interest in that poem being both potentially genius but also enigmatic because he would probably have profited by Francis's other books selling well.
Yeah.
So creating the mystique around it probably helped him from a financial and business standpoint.
And Francis was kind of broke for a second, right?
Yeah.
He had
Yeah,
that
he
poem
was.
that was in the rom-com,
yeah.
and they accidentally got a bunch of rom-com girlies to buy his book.
And he got some big honorarium or something from some American university or
right.
something like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
That's allegedly how he built the barn.
Yeah.
The fact that it started an entire movement is the part that's just like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
movements have probably been started over less. But yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Do you think Harry suspected Francis's role in Percy's death? He seemed to like shoot Vivian a look while
Yeah, they did
while
mention
Francis was reading the poem.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there was parts of the poem that were basically a confession.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that didn't seem like the smartest thing to do.
To read aloud in front of, yeah.
Yeah,
You know what? Maybe so, Ken. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah. Especially because, like, Harry knows Vivian. They had broken up by then. They were no longer, like, having an affair, right?
Well, they went back and had
They
another
went, yeah,
affair.
they had more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, after
All right.
that.
It's hard to keep up.
It was hard to keep up with her affairs.
It was
Yeah.
honestly so hard to keep
Yeah.
up with the number of affairs that she had.
Right, because she had an affair with the other dude too, Chris.
Yeah, she did.
Harriet's husband.
It was like 3 or 4 times. But yeah, it was at that point that I was like, okay, clearly Ian McEwan has been cheated on.
Who has
and
she
he's
not
raging right now.
Yeah,
My God,
Yeah.
she slept with like literally almost every male person in the book except for Peter.
yeah, right.
And then,
And
like,
who
I mean,
knows?
this kind of bothered me, but then, like, the only other female character, I mean, not the only one, but Rose also had an affair with the kid that led the walk out of their class.
Right.
And I was
Kevin
like,
Howard.
Yeah, Kevin Howard. So I was like, okay, like, does Ian McEwan think all women have affairs?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
what
know.
happened to him?
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
See, it was
Okay.
female characters written by a man.
Yeah, honestly.
is
Yeah, there you
like,
go.
why would Rose sleep with that guy? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Steve Woods, what did you think of the ending? Were you surprised? Were you surprised that Francis murdered Percy, and were you surprised that the poem was destroyed?
I did not see the Percy murder coming. The end of the book, I was happy that she had destroyed the poem just based on her feelings of Francis co-opting everything that was Percy
Yeah.
and making it into something that was beautiful. I mean,
Right, but about him.
yeah. The entire structure of that corona seemed so unbelievably difficult to put it all together, and for her to burn that and all of that time and everything that it meant, and she thought it was a smoking gun, right? So she burned it. I did like that, but I wasn't sold on the whole deathbed confession kind of piece. But I still liked it because I was, sitting here talking about it. So that's always kind of the measure of the mark, I think, with if you're talking about it and if you feel something, whether it's anger or happiness, he made us feel,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's always a good thing. But I liked it.
Yeah. What do you think, Craig?
What was that?
Were you surprised by the murder or by the destruction of the poem?
No, unfortunately my copy of the book, it has a synopsis that mentions that there's a murder in the book. So I was like waiting
Really?
for it. I was like, it can't possibly have been the baby. So I knew there was a murder coming.
Yeah.
And I had assumed that the only person that really died was of unusual or weird circumstances was Percy. So I kind of knew that was coming. That was not surprising. So, but it is like the very last note that where Thomas basically says we're publishing this slightly edited, and it was like a confession of his own of like, oh, this is what really happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is completely different than what I had expected it to
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
be. So
Yeah. Christine, what'd you think? Surprised?
I honestly was like really surprised at the murder. The beginning of my book says a brutal crime, and I guess I should have known that that's a murder. Yeah, yours says a brutal crime too.
yeah, I
You know.
jumped to the conclusion that brutal crime
I
was
mean,
murder.
most of brutal. Like, what else? I mean, yeah, obviously it's murder, but for some reason, I think because I was just like, a little bit bored by the first half of the book. By the time things got juicy with a murder, I was like, yes, let's go. So I was surprised. I didn't think Francis had it in him, to be honest. But I wasn't like upset because, Percy's quality of life was so bad. But I think Francis's motivations, he wasn't doing that for Percy. He wasn't doing that for Percy's quality of life. He was doing that because he wanted to be with Vivian. So I was a little bit surprised by that. The ending, there was a passage in this book that I thought, I had a suspicion while reading this that the poem didn't even exist. Because there's a part that says, like, it's something as a talisman to the survivors and a promise of a better future. A poem has served history well by remaining a blank sheet. And so I just had this thought that, like, there is no poem. Like, it doesn't even exist. Which I also kind of would have liked that ending too.
Yeah.
But I actually did like the ending of this book. I think the murder sort of started to ratchet things up because that was really late, or not really late in the book, but it was like, what, 2/3 of the way through the book?
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah. So pretty far along, and I think that really helped to, first of all, make Vivian more interesting. I don't know how I expected her to respond, but I guess I expected not much. I didn't expect much out of Vivian. But yeah, no, I actually kind of liked this ending.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're kind of running out of time, but I have 2 questions. 1, would you recommend the book? And 2, do you forgive Vivian for destroying what might be one of the great poems of the 21st century? Craig?
I definitely would recommend the book. I thought it was fascinating. Well, I would recommend it with like a bit of a, like, take it easy on the first part because it's going to be a little slow, but once you get into it, you're going to love it. What was it? Do I blame her for?
Yeah, are you? Yeah, do you forgive her?
I forgive her absolutely because it was BS. The whole thing was just a way for her husband who passed away to try and get back into her good graces. It was a complete and utter lie. So why not destroy it?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Christine?
Yep, agreed. I would recommend this with the same caveat as Craig, that, like, I wish someone would have told me to be more patient with the beginning of this book. But I would still recommend it, especially for, like, the historical knowledge, or, like, the sort of knowing, or the what we can know about history aspect of things. I thought was really interesting. And I, again, didn't expect the poem to even be real. And then it was a boring poem. So I don't think the world needs it that much. So I can forgive Vivian for what she did.
All right. Steve?
Absolutely recommend it. The poem was a MacGuffin kind of through this whole thing, right? And the desire to know it probably outweighs the power of it.
Yeah.
So, he's going to go down in history, and that mystery surrounding it is probably more enticing than what we would have gathered had we read all, 18 stanzas or whatever.
It's like 15 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I would. I think my recommendation would be not quite as full-throated, but yeah, I would recommend it. I thought it was interesting. I think the premise is super interesting, and as I said, the second time through, I thought was more satisfying than the first. So yeah, I would recommend it. And with that in mind, Steve Woods, you have a recommendation for something else people might like to read?
I am reading a book. I'm going to start now that I'm done with this, Old Masters and Young Geniuses. And it's about creativity later in life. Whether it's, some people are born and do great things in their early 20s. I think they're talking about artists. And others are prolific well into their 60s and 70s. So I'm hoping that I am part of that latter group.
Yeah, Steve, I have just every faith that you are part of that group.
I hope so.
Yeah. Christine?
Yeah, the book that I would recommend, I usually recommend something sort of similar to what we talked about, but I'm coming out of left field today. I have to recommend the book that I was reading while I was reading this, which is The Shining by Stephen King.
Oh.
It's one of my favorite books of all time, easily top 5. It's the most horrifying book I've ever read. And I love the movie, love Stanley Kubrick, but the movie doesn't even hold a candle to how good the book is.
Okay.
Couldn't recommend it more. So that's my recommendation.
Okay, good. I mean, we're past Halloween,
I know,
but what a good recommendation.
I know, we just missed. I was reading it in time for
That's
Halloween.
fine.
Yeah.
Craig,
I have a confession to make.
please.
I actually, about halfway through this book, I switched over to listening to the book.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew, because they changed the narrator.
I
tone
listened to some of
a
it too.
little bit.
Yeah, I listened to part of it.
So I feel a little bad about that, but it was very helpful.
Yeah, no worries.
Suggestions. I just finished John Green's book, Everything is Tuberculosis. I thought it was fascinating. I'm kind of a geek for that kind of book. And then another one that's also kind of a geeky book, but I'm in the real estate world. It's a book called Stuck by Yanni Applebaum that explains zoning ordinances and how they started and what they really do. Which is
that sounds fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so maybe I'm just a little bit on the egg-headed side.
All right, yeah. Thanks, Craig.
You're welcome.
Well, so I have 2 recommendations this month. The first is a first novel by one of our favorite Radio Free Book Club members. That would be Kate Shoup.
Ooh.
Her novel is called Overtaken. It's set in a world Kate knows very well, the world of open-wheel racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you're a romance reader or a Kate Shoup fan, and if you're listening to the show, you're definitely a Kate fan, Overtaken is for you. I can't wait to read it. My second recommendation is a little bit self-serving. It's the brand new edition, the 14th edition of So It Goes, which is the literary journal of the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library. It's just out, and it is really good. Each edition has a theme. This year's theme is the Year of the Journalist. Vonnegut was a journalist before he turned to writing fiction, and his experience influenced his writing throughout his life. So It Goes is filled with excellent essays and stories and poems and artwork, all related in some way to journalism. One of my favorites is 2:27 p.m. by Radio Free Book Club member Tim Taylor. And I also have 2 poems in the journal about which I am thrilled. So if you're in Indianapolis, you can buy So It Goes at the Vonnegut Museum and Library. If you're not, you can get it online at vonnegutlibrary.org. I guess if you're in Indianapolis, you can do that as well. You can also find previous editions of So It Goes there, lots of great info about Vonnegut and all the great things going on with the museum, and that is it for us. Remember, you can stream Radio Free Book Club practically anywhere you get your podcasts. We'd love for you to subscribe to the Radio Free Book Club Substack as well. And with that, for Christine Hudson, Craig Von Deylen, Steve Woods, and all the members of Radio Free Book Club, I'm Ken Honeywell. Thanks for listening. And join us next month when we'll travel back to 1985. Actually, I think that's 1895. I think I transposed a couple of numbers there. With the passengers on the Paris Express, the latest novel from Emma Donoghue. We hope you'll join us. Until then, read a book.